Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about Vinyasa Yoga. So Vinyasa Yoga, let's start with how we define the word. So Vinyasa. So V actually in Sanskrit can mean variation or done in a special way. And Nyasa means to place or to set within specific or prescribed parameters. And then, interestingly enough, in ancient tantric texts, vinyasa was described as the sequence of consciousness. So vinyasa is all about movement and all about transitions and creating a seamless and fluid yoga practice that has no kind of interruptions or disturbances. It's all about creating a very smooth and even flow. So this is kind of completed in two ways in the West. So there's kind of something called Power Vinyasa that's floating around these days, which is very athletic and places a lot of focus, yes, on movement and on the transitions and doing a lot of going through Vinyasa, plank, you lower down, raise up into Cobra, up dog, and then back into downward dog. So that's technically called a Vinyasa in the West, at least we're saying. Go through your vinyasa in between this pose, or going through the vinyasa, we'll then float our right foot forward into warrior one. So we'll use a vinyasa, which we're now saying is a transition, to get from one pose to another. So that's power yoga, is when you do it in a way that builds a lot of cardiovascular activity and builds a lot of heat in the body. Its purpose is to have a very fluid and seamless practice, but done in a way that really is stimulating and really pushes the limits of the body. Then on the other hand, there is Vinyasa Flow, which is a bit more relaxed, right? Flow versus power. Those two words carry connotations. But Vinyasa Flow also will be very fluid and seamless, but you won't spend a lot of time in asanas. You won't really hold them like in an alignment class. You would be taking a pose and holding it maybe for a minute and really exploring what that pose feels like, really feeling it. But even in a Vinyasa flow class, you might hold poses just for as long as a single exhale. You might exhale into forward fold, inhale into standing, exhale into forward fold, inhale to standing. That's a very basic example, but usually even in a Vinyasa flow class, it's very movement driven. You're not holding a lot of poses for very long. Also, you're not getting rest. In some hatha classes or yin or other slower classes, you will be maybe taking a moment or a few breaths in child's pose or in another very passive pose in between challenging poses. So let's say you're doing Bakasana crow pose. If you're doing that in a hatha class, you might then end up laying on your stomach in crocodile and just relaxing for 5 breaths to kind of take the energy back down, calm your heart rate, calm your breath. Whereas in a vinyasa class, that's usually not happening. You're usually keep going, keep pushing, keep going, keep until the very end when you're slowly relaxing and getting ready for shavasana. Then you might hold a couple poses where you're reclining for a little longer. But it's good to know that vinyasa is a little bit more power and athletic driven. It's as the sequence of consciousness, it really does focus on transitions and using the breath for movement. And so even in moments of stillness during a vinyasa class, they still consider the heart rate, that's still the movement in the body, or the inhale and exhale even in a moment of stillness is the movement. So it's all about movement, vinyasa. It's all about transitions and creating a practice that is filled with harmony, like just really harmonious flow. It's very logical to get from one pose to another pose. Usually teachers spend a lot of time planning a vinyasa class to make sure everything's very fluid and very seamless. So very kind of the teacher has to be a little bit more cognitive when creating it, so it's a coherent practice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed learning about vinyasa and what vinyasa is with me today. Thanks, guys.